Candidate Freeburg, would you please tell us a bit about yourself, your background, experience, and your connection and or interest in the Huerfano Re1 schools? What are your reasons or motivation for seeking election or re-election to a position on the school board? Marcy?
Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you very much for holding this forum. It's a great opportunity for those in the community that can't be at meet and greets or don't know us personally. It's a great chance for them to get to understand us and us to reach out to them. My background here is we've lived in the community for 10, 15 years. I do home inspections here, so I've traveled throughout this county and other counties, getting to know folks, getting to understand folks, getting to know what brought them to this area. One of the first questions I always ask when I have a new buyer at an inspection with me is something as simple as, so what made you choose Walsenburg? What brought you to this little slice of heaven that we're trying to keep a somewhat secret about? And there's a wide variety of reasons, which leads me to why I'm running for school board. None of those reasons have ever been the school system. And it is a wonderful school system, has a great chance to be a wonderful school system, could be a great catalyst for the community. And unfortunately, I don't see that right now. And if we want to bring in the right kind of people to help us bring the economy back and rolling, we need a good school district so folks can have the job fulfillment and they can have workers for their businesses that are educated, that are reliable, and that understand the current world we live in. And that's why I want to run for the school board, is to help bring that to the community and be an asset that is spoken about in wonderful tones instead of how you hear about it in the alleys today.
Thank you, Marcy. Question number 1. Marcy, what is your vision for education in this community?
So my vision for this community may seem a little bit on the crazy side, if you will. I see right now our kids have a not great graduation rate. Our kids come out of the school without the skills and knowledge they need for today's workforce. I intend to raise the bar. I've got 3 boys myself. All 3 of them are in college. All 3 of them have done really well. None of them attended this school because the bar was not high enough. I sent them over to Rye because they had opportunities there that aren't available at this school. And there's a unique thing I learned about raising those 3 boys. Kids will meet whatever bar you set. Right now we've set it sort of low, and we've encouraged them to stay there. I think if we knock up that bar, just like a high jumper at the Olympics this summer, set new world records, we can set a record for this school system by setting the bar higher and demanding more out of our kids. They can do it. I have the utmost faith in them, and their parents can help guide them along the way. I know they want to see it as well. And so my biggest vision for this community and education in this community is to get a lot of folks involved and to set the bar high and not be set so that they can just walk over it. I want them reaching.
Thank you. Question number 2. Marcy, what changes would you like to see in Huerfano Re1 schools, and how would you propose making those changes?
One of the first things I think we need to tackle is, why are our kids not graduating at a decent rate? We're one of the lower 50% of schools in all of Colorado, school districts in all of Colorado. My husband works in another one of those. He works in District 60. This is a problem we've been facing for his 15 years in that school system. And I see what their board doesn't do that could help it. And I think we can bring those changes to this board. Wouldn't it be something if little old Re1 far surpassed Pueblo D60? And it could. We have the ability to do that. The changes I would like to see is a better involvement with the community to help support our students, a better way to ensure our students have all the options and availability of classes that they want to teach. Each kid is different, and I know that. We can't teach 18 different maths. I get that. But what we can do is make it so that those 5 or 6 kids that are super excellers have that opportunity to take that class, be it distance learning, via some sort of co-op with the local colleges. We've got great opportunities here between Trinidad State Junior College, PCC, and CSUP to really help these kids accelerate, those that are capable of it, and those that maybe college isn't for them, maybe high academics isn't for them. Well, then let's get them with business and give them a chance to find out what they do excel in, and let's accentuate those positives.
Thank you. Question number 3. Marcy, why might you want to support this school district, and what unique contribution will you bring?
So it's not a matter of wanting to support the school district. I do support the school district. There's no want. I just absolutely support kids. I support parents. I support teachers. I support the ability of these kids to rise above and beyond what they've been told they can do because they've got the right education. So what do I bring? I think I bring a vision that hasn't been seen on this school board in quite a long time. I think I bring to this district something that demands better of everybody, but not in a demanding way. If I challenge you, you're going to rise up. If I demand it from you, you're going to squirt back. So I see it as a way. I've traveled this country. I was a Army brat, for lack of a better term. My parents weren't, but I bummed around with my husband as he moved around. I had a bad parachute wreck, so I didn't get to play in the Army for very long. But we've traveled this country quite a bit, and I've seen what works and what doesn't in different school districts. Sometimes just that fresh approach is exactly what you need.
Thank you. Question number 4. Marcy, how might you advocate for the school publicly and privately?
So one thing you need to understand in this day and age, there is no privately. Everything is public, right? You've got people on the sidewalks with their cell phones. Anything you say can and will be used against you, right? So what I'm looking at is it would always be publicly. There's no reason to advocate for a school privately. What good does that do anybody? The way we advocate for the school is highlight those students that are doing great, both academically and athletically. You know, sometimes we get focused on one or the other. All those kids have unique capabilities, and if you give them some kudos, they're going to rise up to the occasion again and set the bar higher on themselves. So what I see is we advocate publicly. We let the kids know that we appreciate their efforts. We don't talk about just the basketball team or just the football team or just the wrestling team. Those are great, and they provide wonderful lessons to kids. But what about those kids in 4-H that set a record sale? What about those kids that are in high school and junior high rodeo and did wonderful and nobody knows they're out there doing these things? I think what we need to do in advocating for the school is actually giving kudos to those kids that have earned it. What about those kids that get straight A's? I was never one of those kids. I raised one, the other two not so much. But you know what? We still celebrated that all-A student. We went out for dinner with him. We had cake, we had coffee, we had whatever he wanted, right? Why aren't we doing that here publicly, praising those kids? Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5, pretty similar to what you just answered. How would you effectively promote Huerfano Re1 schools in our county and city?
The first thing you need to do when you want to promote something is know the reason why. Why do we want to promote it? So an effective promotion of the school is to help those that don't have kids in the school district, help those that, like me, chose to take their kids to a different school district, help them realize what they're missing out on when they're here. Once we can get the right kind of programs in the system that the kids can actually use and want and desire and are profitable to their education, we can promote how well it is and possibly bring in more kids. We can bring in the folks that live right on the border of school borders like I did, right? My kids had one foot on the RIDE district and one foot in the RE1 district. Neither district had a bus. That school over there had this program. This school over here had no program. Pretty easy choice if you're a parent that wants to do good for your kid. So what we need to do to promote our school is bring in those programs that are desirable to the kids that aren't here and also desirable to the kids that are currently here. We don't sacrifice one set for another set. That's what I was saying about with the athletics and the academics. We don't sacrifice one or the other. We bring everybody up to the same level, and we are able to promote publicly everything that's great about this district as soon as we can get it there.
Thank you. Question number 6. Marcy, what do you see as right or wrong with education right now?
Right and wrong. That's a pretty decisive question, honestly. What's right for me may or may not be right for someone else. So instead of saying right or wrong, I think a better approach would to say, what are we doing right in education right now? And we're doing a lot of things right. When I was in school, there was a lot of bullying. Of course, I went to school in Detroit, but there was a lot of bullying. There was a lot of angst. There was a lot of cliques. Have we figured that out completely now? No, but we do focus on it now, don't we? So that's something we're doing right in schools. We're valuing each and every individual child and each and every individual child choice. That's a good thing. That's something we should be proud of. We've evolved. Some of the things maybe we're not getting right. I see it in the program we tried to run last year in town. I see it in some of the bigger districts as well. We are preparing our children for the workforce that you and I, boomers, Gen Xers, that we walked into. We are not preparing them for the workforce they're going to walk into. That's not necessarily wrong, but we're setting them up for not as much success as we were set up for. I think that's one thing we need to do. We need to examine the businesses, the industry around us, and figure out where our kids need to be when they graduate so they can be active participants in that. Maybe they're the ones that come up with the next evolution of the industry. But if we don't give them those tools, we'll never know. I think one of the great things education does today is allow the kids a lot of freedom to do a lot of stuff you and I didn't get to do in school. So some of these things we can keep going. Other things, maybe we just need that fresh look and make sure we're doing what education was supposed to do. Education originally was just to create a good citizenry. Sometimes we forget that. So let's go back making a good citizenry. What's a good citizenry? A good worker and a good boss.
Thank you. Question number 7. Marcy, what would you never want to see in our school or schools?
Wow, that's a deep list. I never want to see children hurt. I never want to see teachers that aren't supported by their administration and their school board. I never want to see an administration that thinks it's above its teachers or its kids. I never want to see people not understand a chain of command. I never want to see kids not learning. I never want to see a kid afraid to come to school. I never want to see a teacher that has no support and doesn't find joy in teaching anymore. Teachers are a unique group. They do some stuff that there is no way a lot of people in this world could do. I could never sit with my own children for 8 hours a day, let alone somebody else's. And I get that. My husband teaches, his sister teaches, his brother-in-law teaches. A lot of my cousins back home in Michigan teach. God bless those teachers. And I never want them to feel like they're not supported, because they are. At least they are from me at all times. I never want to see our school become a place that a kid doesn't feel safe in. Safety and learning go hand in hand, and without one, you can't have the other.
Thank you. Question number 8. Marcy, can you place the school's purposes and interests above your own professional and personal interests when making decisions as a board member? Tell us how you can do so.
That's a very interesting question. And I say that because I would like to think my personal beliefs line up exactly with what a school should be doing. I want kids educated. So am I supposed to ignore that when I'm making decisions on the board? That doesn't make sense. So in some cases, I don't think I would put my own personal interests aside for the betterment of the school, simply because they align with each other. Why would I get rid of 47 years of earthly knowledge just because I'm above that? That's not true of anything, right? So putting my own interests aside, if you're talking politics, politics has no business in the school anyways. My politics, as far as who I vote for president or city council, that's the person. That has nothing to do with teaching. That has nothing to do with ensuring our kids have the best future available to them. So I don't know that this question is even a valid question, to be honest. I'm not going to put aside my personal interest of having good kids that are able to do what they were destined to do in life just for the sake of doing it.
Thank you. Question number 9. What criteria and processes should be used to choose or ban curricular materials?
Ban curricular materials. That's about as un-American as you can get. In America, we get freedom of the press. We get freedom of speech, the right to assemble. Banning something. See, my family on my mom's side was Jewish, and they were in the ghettos, and they were in the Holocaust. When you start saying banning, my spine just goes up. I don't think banning is the correct word here. Maybe how would you choose between two curriculum? And I guess in effect the one you don't choose is effectively banned. I would look at it this way. Does it move our district forward, this new curriculum? Does it get the kids to a place where they can learn? Does it get the kids to a place where they can function in society, the society they're going to face, not our current one that you and I grew up in? Does it help the children? Is it something the teachers can teach? It's not always just what the kids can learn. You got to make sure your teachers understand it and that they want to teach it. I think there's a lot of careful consideration that would need to go on. For me to say I would never ban anything would be 99.999% true. I'm sure there's something out there I would want quote unquote banned. But boy, that's not American.
Thank you. Last question, question number 10. Marcy, if necessary, where would you cut the school budget? What would you consider off limits to budget cuts and why?
Well, the second part of that question is a heck of a lot easier than the first part, right? So what would I consider off limits to budget cuts? I'd consider teacher salaries off limits to budget cuts. There's no way. We don't pay them enough as it is. There's no way we're going to pay them less. What else would I consider an off limits to budget cuts? I would have to say any school lunch breakfast programs, we got to feed them. If you're hungry, you can't learn. So we need to make sure those are taken care of. And I know the food budget comes out of a whole different area, but I would definitely ensure we're paying our food service industry folks well enough that they can do their job as well. Where would I cut the school budget? That would have to be a very hard look and a very, very well thought out reasoning. People automatically will say, oh, cut administration. Okay, so you tell your best friend it's time to not have a job. That's what we're looking at when we look at cutting school budgets. We're looking at putting people out on the street because this school district does not run with a surplus of $1 million every year. It's already tight. Where do you cut? Well, I don't want to cut anything in the classroom, and I don't necessarily want to cut a friend out of a job. And let's be honest, we're all friends here in this community. We all know each other. We see each other at the grocery store, at the gas station, at the loaf and jug. We see each other wherever. It's not taken lightly if we do need to make cuts. I think instead, a spending priority that aligns with teaching and aligns with supporting teachers is what we need to do.
Thank you very much, Marcy. At this time, you have 2 minutes for closing statements. Go ahead.
All right, 2 minutes seems short, but it's actually pretty long. So, 2 minutes on a Facebook show is longer than anybody wants to watch, and I understand that. So, basically, what I want to let everybody know is I'm 100% behind the kids and the teachers, and I absolutely want our kids to succeed. There is no reason that this school district needs to stay in the bottom 50% of this state. Our state isn't even that great of a school. We're not talking like we're competing against Yales and Harvards and Stanfords of the world. If we can at least increase our graduation rate and ensure that the kids that do graduate know how to read, now that's something right there. That's a big improvement on what we've been having. I would like to see us set the bar high so the kids will meet it. I have utmost faith in the kids, the teachers, and the parents that they can help us get them there. And it takes all of us. I'm no Hillary Clinton fan. I think everybody in this community probably knows that. But in some ways, it does take a village. It takes all of us looking out for our kids. It takes all of us ensuring our kids have the tools necessary to succeed in life. Nobody wants their kid to live in their basement till they're 40 years old. But what we do want is good citizens that can support themselves, help out their fellow man, and are educated enough to understand the world around them. That's what we need to do. That's what I intend to have us do. And I just hope I can get your vote. It's Marcy Freeburg, Re1, 4-year term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcy.